Welcome to another episode of the School Shoes Podcast. Good evening, everyone. It's
Yes,
episode
sir.
10. My name is Eric. We got Ernest, and then we got Armani. All right, so this episode we're going to discuss the college basketball top 25, the early stuff, news going on around the college basketball season, and also we're going to discuss the latest news that's going on around the NBA, which is we got a whole bunch of more news coming up,
Yeah.
or just got the last couple weeks. So we're gonna go right into it. All right. So this week, the college basketball, the AP top 25. We're in week 5 already. Um,
Already.
and we had a couple. We had a shuffle at the number one spot at the top on the top 5 because
Duke
the season
losing.
Duke losing, Gonzaga losing twice.
Yep.
Gonzaga was coming in as the number one team in the nation. And now for this week's poll, Purdue is ranked number one,
Yep.
followed by Baylor, the defending national champions.
Mhm.
Duke at number 3, Gonzaga at number 4. No, excuse me. Let me
UCLA.
UCLA.
let me
UCLA
break. Let
for
me
Zaga's 5.
yes.
And then
So let
Gonzaga.
me go back to that. So Purdue's at number 1 at 8-0, Baylor at 8-0 at number 2,
Hmm.
Duke
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Duke is at
or
3.
8-1.
Okay.
Yeah, UCLA is at number 4, Gonzaga is at number 5, Villanova at number 6, Texas at 7, 8 Kansas, number 9 Alabama, and Kentucky at number 10.
Yeah.
So this earlier this week, I went to the Jimmy V Classic, Texas Tech, Tennessee, and Syracuse Villanova. The first game it was a brick fest. No one could shoot. We had guys missing wide open fast break layups, um, wide open shots. We have it was one play where with Tennessee had the possession and they missed good 3 straight open threes consecutively. It was a total brick fest, but in these type of games, especially against in with the non-conference against the non-conference some teams, you're gonna get those type of games where both teams struggle because of the, they don't know those teams very well, so they
And
they
they're
do
playing
scout them a
on a
lot, but
neutral
at the same
site
time they don't
too.
know they play neutral court, so they don't have a good feel for it now. Unlike in during the NCAA tournament or NIT, you get a much better feel of non-conference competition. That's how it is
Although
during the early part of this season.
al- although I like to look at non-conference games a lot more than conference
Than
games
in conference
because
games.
Hmm.
because you kind of see what players can adapt in new environments, and that's what NBA scouts are also looking for, right? Like you got to be able to
Hmm.
play guys or play against guys that you never you don't know tendencies, right? And that's
Hmm.
how this is going to test your basketball IQ, right? In game moment, like how are you recognizing what your opponent is doing on the fly? So yeah, it was a brick fest, but at the same time, what you also want to see is like, can if you're a hooper, you're going to hoop regardless where it's at.
Can players
Yeah.
adjust to what's
Right.
going on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And the second, even though it was that type of night for those two teams, I thought defensively both teams played really good. Especially going and having those two type of styles, and especially in let me see. And I felt that when it got into the extra session overtime, I thought Texas Tech really they got back to with their style of play, and they really um imposed their will tempo wise. The second game, the classic Big East matchup, Villanova Syracuse. It was a tight, close game in the first half. Both teams were shooting a lot of threes, but they were missing a lot of them, especially Villanova. They shot like 20. They went 2 for 20 in the first half, shooting threes. Oh,
Yes.
also by the way, check if you haven't seen them, Buddy and Jimmy Boeheim, those two guys from Syracuse.
Hmm.
Those you got to watch out for those two guys. They're really big. they're really
Well, the
how can I
last
say,
thing.
a
Think
potential
about it.
lottery pick if they get out. Yeah, but I like but 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 they can play, they can ball. But second half, Villanova as usual, they imposed their will. They shot 53s in the
Huh.
Oh, I think
Did
we
we
lost
lose
Eric.
Eric for a second?
Yeah, I think we did. We think we did.
Okay.
All good. All good. Again, as you know, man, college is very fluid, right? It's a very fluid
Mm-hmm.
game. Every week, so to speak, rankings are going to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do predict at the end of the day, I think the Final Four will end up being Michigan State, Duke. I like Gonzaga, and I'm going to go on a limb here, and I don't know. I feel like Kentucky or Arizona is going to have a really good season.
Mm-hmm.
They I'm torn between them two and UCLA. Um, I'm just looking for more consistency from UCLA. Again, and also listen,
I feel like
Alabama is another good sleeper
I
this year too.
I feel like if anything, UCLA should be out for blood considering what happened last year. You know what I mean? They were so
Yeah,
close. You
yeah.
know, so
I just
mhm.
if but year after year with UCLA, they're always on the cusp and they can never break through that
yeah,
ceiling.
true.
So
It's
you know,
always it's always something that happens.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true.
yeah,
unfortunate. Hmm.
yeah.
But
So
remember UCLA last year, they was one of the last teams in, so
Hmm.
they got in barely
yeah,
Hmm.
into the
they
NCAA
did.
tournament, and then they made that run to the
Yep.
Final
Hmm.
Four.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
for
It,
my Final Four teams, I still like Baylor to get back to the Final Four. Gonzaga.
Yeah. Chet
Um,
is just too good. That's
I'm
him.
gonna go Alabama as I like Alabama as a sleeper, and don't sleep on Arizona. That's one of
Yeah.
also my other sleeper
Arizona.
team out in the Pac-12. Arizona.
Also, Seton Hall too. I think is actually going to surprise some teams. They're actually better than what their record says. So I think Seton Hall will
Hmm.
be a sleeper coming down the line.
mm.
Iowa State too. I mean, there's so many teams, but
Yeah,
if you
that
really
that
like,
that's
like this
that's
is
the
just
thing with
some
college
teams.
basketball. Anybody get high at any time, going to run. You know, it's just
yeah,
it's all a part of the game. You know.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Hmm. But also bear in mind that these non-conference games, they're a prelude to what's going to happen in March. So
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
teams because teams will be scrambling in February
Hmm.
and early March for wins, and you be one of those bubble teams that you're trying to get in, trying to get those trying to get those wins in your conference tournaments, and they look at your resume and see like, okay, who did you beat? Not in your in conference, but outside your conference, and
Yeah.
if
Strength
you
to
and
schedule
set the
stuff like
schedule,
that.
who you
Yep.
play, who you beat, and if you
Hmm.
don't have enough of those, and you fill up the schedule with teams that are not good, then it's like, what's the point of you getting in? You know, you didn't have that type of schedule, any type of wins that you need to get in.
Hmm.
Yeah. But
So
I mean, listen, college, and we'll talk more about it. I want to have a real in-depth conversation, how we break down teams, and as we know, this is what Mike Krzyzewski's last year, right? So, um, like, what does that pressure do for Duke, right? And you got Gonzaga, who's still going to be in the mix, UCLA, Alabama, as you mentioned. So, I definitely want to have a deep dive into like each school in the top 25 to really like
Hmm.
break down
mhm,
these players because it's some
Hmm.
interesting stuff.
yeah, most definitely, I think especially during once conference play starts. Actually, some teams that started conference play as early as last week this past weekend. So we're gonna get into depth of more of how those teams match up, where they stand, on a weekly and monthly basis.
Yeah.
All right, so we go from there to what's happening in the NBA last 2 weeks, and let me tell you,
Woo,
it's a
man.
whole lot. If you thought last episode we left off with a lot of more news than we had,
Because
mm-mm.
our last episode
No,
was
it was
Knicks and
2 weeks.
Lakers, right?
Yeah, it was Knicks Lakers. It was 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
that was
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
it was
Yep,
2 weeks
yep.
ago, and
Let's
a
just
lot has
say
changed since
Lot.
then.
we
A
we
lot.
Ernest and I, we felt overconfident, and we just unfortunately took the L, man.
Listen,
Listen.
it was unfortunate the league came down and gave the Knicks a stimulus package on suspending LeBron. It's all good. Listen,
You
the
still
Knicks
had
won.
Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook. I
The
don't want to
Knicks
hear about that.
won. The Knicks won.
All
Y'all
right.
got it. You know what I'm saying? Emmanuel quickly just like woke up in the fourth quarter, was
Same thing
killing.
with Evan Fournier. He became
Yeah,
Steph Curry. You know
because
what I mean?
we were still in reach to win the game because
Right.
Russ started dominating in the third quarter, and there was
Yeah.
nothing. The Knicks had no answer for him,
Mhm.
and we just didn't have enough. It's safe to say I know for sure. I can say this with a lot of confidence. If LeBron was playing, we would have won that game. But give credit to the Knicks; they did what they were supposed to do. You
Yeah.
know, Julius Randle bullied Anthony Davis on numerous occasions, and we'll get into Anthony Davis a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah. So congrats on the Knicks championship.
Oh, please. How's it championship they're under 500? All right.
I mean, we
Yeah.
both fighting around 500 right now. So,
Yeah.
yep.
But the thing is, I feel like we're starting to trend in the right direction, and the Knicks are trending in the wrong direction. Yeah, it's
The
not
the
not looking good.
the way for me, and then we can move on after this. But the way for me to see that the Lakers are headed in the right direction, we need to go on a 7-game win streak, and
Listen,
we can move on from
we
that.
can make it two in a row tonight against Memphis without John Morant, so there should be no excuse as to why we can't beat those guys tonight.
Yep.
And they played last night, the Grizzlies.
Right, and they played
Yeah.
last night. It was a lot of emotion in that game.
Mhm.
Dylan Brooks got
He got
ejected.
ejected, yeah.
Yeah, so
He's a hothead anyway, but
he is. But
yeah,
I think tonight we win this game.
yeah,
It's
for
important
sure.
that we impose our will, and then after that we got OKC, which we should beat them by 80. Like, there should be no excuse.
Hey, well, we're down 0-2 in the season series.
Yeah. It's insane.
Okay, let's go.
So first order topic, Damian Lillard, right? We know the GM Neil O'Shea has been let go, has been relieved of his duties for enticing and on
A hostile environment.
yeah, so to speak. We'll stick with that. And it's a lot of shakeup, right? He has a extension coming up that he emphatically said himself that he did not ask for the extension, nor did he ask for a trade. So a lot of you reporters out there, let's make sure we get our stories right with Damian Lillard before we
Yeah, there's
go
been
ahead
a
and say this is gonna
there's been
happen.
a lot of
been a
misquoting
lot.
him. A lot of
Yeah.
misquoting him. Yeah,
At this point, if Damian Lillard doesn't say it, I don't believe it, right?
facts.
And I think we have to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's
Yep.
come out numerous times and refuted those stories. So
Right.
as you know, right, and now he's been dealing with an abdominal injury, and then prayers to and let's hope he gets well very soon. CJ McCollum on the
Yeah.
collapsed lung.
Yeah.
He's dealing with something really serious right now. So
Mhm.
it's not looking good in Portland, right?
Mhm.
When you lose your GM and your backcourt is out, it's not a recipe for success. So
And your new coach is calling you out left and right.
right.
Mhm.
So I mean, at this point, if you're Damian Lillard, do you say, you know what? Do you ask out or do you stick it out? He's already said he wants to stick it out, but
That's
at
his
some
pride.
point he has to make a decision. If you
Yeah.
want to win, it's not going to be in Portland.
Mhm.
But if you want to stay there and be loyal, which is all good, no one's
Mhm.
talking down or looking down upon that. But it's going to be right now, given the situation, it's going to be hard to do both.
Yeah. I mean, so all of those things that you just mentioned with CJ McCollum and Chauncey Billups calling out the team, and these issues with Dame, being misquoted in the media, it's like all red flags to get out. But Dame his word is bond. You know what I mean? And he's on his pride so much that, like, even though I don't know it. The ship could just sink totally for real to the bottom of the ocean, and Dame is like, I'm gonna be on that ship. You know, like I don't see him acting out like every single, like you just said, Ernest, every single rumor or anything that comes down to me that's like, nah, Dame didn't say that. And then the day
Right.
after, Dame is like, I ain't say nothing. Like,
Right.
where y'all getting this information from? But I just think that he's just he's ride or die, you know? He's with Portland.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's sad to see because I players like him, you want
No,
to
for real, yeah.
see him win and you
Mm-hmm.
want to see him get that championship. And
Mhm.
Stephen A. Smith has reported that he's talked to him, and the New York Knicks are his preferred destination, but then the Knicks don't have anything to give up to where it makes him a contender. So
Yeah,
it's probably more compelling for him just to stay.
yeah,
Um, it's reported also his camp is trying to get him to be more open to go to other places like Philly or you know Golden State or whatever Brooklyn, whatever what may have you. We don't know what those trade packages will look like, but
Mhm.
um, I personally, right, I think I would love to see Dame in a Laker uniform, but we know that's never going to happen now, given that we have Russell Westbrook. Um, but I think ideally, non-biased, the best place for him, I think, would be Philadelphia. Him and Joel Embiid
Mhm.
together, I think, they're an automatic contender in the East. Like
Yeah,
you know, um, but it remains to be seen, and it's tough also for Portland because now with CJ's injury, you don't have assets to kind of like
yeah,
make the team better. No, or
Mm-hmm.
like what they also have to figure out what direction they want to go, and I think that's also the conundrum here. Like Dame wants to win, they want to keep Dame happy, but also they know they don't have the requisite pieces to get pieces to help Dame win now, but they don't. It's like, do you want? Are you playing for the lottery, or are you trying to win the championship? Like,
yeah,
I don't know what the
Mm-hmm.
organization is kind of doing, and they're also stuck in the middle of Dame wanting to be happy, but at the same time he wants to be loyal.
yeah.
Can they afford both? I don't know.
And then they also tried to throw this whole Ben Simmons thing on him as well too. And he was just like
Right?
where y'all getting his information from, you know?
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think he's just down with the sinking ship. It is what it is, you know. Until Portland can find like a great trade partner, but like you just said, they don't have the assets, you know. Without CJ McCollum, they took
Yeah.
a huge step back. You know, I remember looking at it was like a picture or something like that, you know, from the time that Dame put out that tweet after they got bumped by the
Hmm.
Denver Nuggets, and looking at the roster now, it was just like it was nobody that really flexed the needle. You
Yeah.
know, I'll say probably the two biggest assets that they have on the team is Nurkic and CJ, and one of them is hurt. You
And
know,
I mean,
so
you could get something comparable for Norman Powell because he's a good
yeah,
scorer, but
yeah,
he's undersized. Like he's an
right.
undersized small forward.
He's
So
right. Yeah, yeah.
so it's a tough situation, man. I don't know where they go from here. Um, I don't know, man. I don't
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
My thing is that he's still on this big deal that they signed back in 2019
Hmm.
with Dame Lillard. So he has $39 million left this year, and then next year he has 42, and the following year, which is his last year, this opt-out year, he has 48 million. And on top of that, he's going to ask for a 2-year, $107 million extension. So
Well, he
that's going
said
to
he
give him another
never asked.
50. He never asked, which is what the extension is out there.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, for sure.
by the time he's 36, you're paying him $50 million per year.
Woo.
So that's the sticking part with the extension and the loyalty of are you, if I stay here, will this happen? Or if I go, which I don't want to because I said myself, I'm not trying to go. I don't want to leave Portland. He said it many
Hmm.
times. He said it yesterday with Mark Spears
Yep.
during pregame, and he also had a press conference yesterday. So the Blazers are in a lose-lose situation, and on top of that, you got Chauncey Billups, new head coach. He's in over his head all over around with this, and he's trying to like tread water with his team in the Western
Hmm.
Conference. So it's a mess out there in Portland. I I've been saying this the last 3 years. They should have pressed the reset button because after that run they made to the Western Conference Finals, that was
The
their ceiling.
year they got swept by the Pelicans, that offseason, they
Yeah.
should have made
Yeah,
changes
yeah.
because
I,
it made no sense that Rajon Rondo and Anthony Davis
And Drew
were
Holiday.
and Andrew Holiday were the
Mhm.
ones to you couldn't get a win against that team. Like you couldn't get one win. Mind
Yeah.
you, Boogie was out for the year. He was already hurt. Like
Mhm.
what? So
Mhm.
I felt right then and there I was like, okay, this these two tandems are not going to work together. They're gonna they remind you a lot of
I was
John
getting ready to
Wall
say that.
and
I
Bradley
was getting ready
Beal.
to say that.
Yeah,
You know,
John Wall, Bradley
so
Beal.
Yep.
they have to be able to look at that and say, you know what, like
Mhm.
we have to. One of them has to go.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, they have to pick a side and say, and it's unfortunate, but it happens a lot in franchises when you have two stars, right? And they're both, and you've been trying all this time to be successful, and you know when you what your ceiling is. Like that,
Mhm.
that's just your ceiling,
Yeah.
and you know you don't have you're a small market team. You don't have the payroll to the cap to necessarily the salary to go out and spend big because you don't want to pay those luxury taxes.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
like Eric said, they're in a lose situation. But the in my opinion, the direction they should go is to say we should rebuild.
Mhm.
We should go
Mhm.
into rebuild mode. You can get pieces for Dame for sure. You can get future pieces for Dame.
Mhm.
You can get pieces for CJ. You could definitely get pieces for Norman Powell, and you can get some comparable pieces for Yusuf Nurkic. Like
Mhm.
Mhm.
those four guys are definitely serviceable in the league. And their skill set is needed around with other teams. So I don't know. Like the reset button for them makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And you can say that for the Indiana Pacers. So
Yeah, as we
what Miles
segue into
Miles
about trades,
Mhm.
the
Miles
Athletic
Turner.
reported,
Mhm.
right? The Athletic reported, I believe today or yesterday, actually,
It was
that
yesterday.
it was yesterday that Indiana Pacers are now their direction is to rebuild. That's what they want to do. Um, and when that news dropped, Miles Turner let it all out, right? And how upset he has
Mhm.
been.
Yeah.
He obviously he feels
Mhm.
like he's a star. You can kind of say that he feels like he's a star, and he's not being treated as such, right? He's being treated as a glorified role player in his
Yep.
words.
Yep.
Mhm.
Um, Indiana can get some pieces if they play this
Because they
smart.
have the talent for it,
They have the
for
talent,
sure.
right?
Mhm.
You can
Mhm.
definitely get pieces for Miles Turner and Sabonis. You can get pieces for TJ McCollum,
Karis LeVert,
Harris
Karis
LeVert. You can
LeVert.
get pieces for too. So
and even
Also,
Brogdon.
also, and
Brogdon and Justin
and
Holiday, like
Because
there are pieces
and
there.
Sabonis.
right.
And
Yeah,
Sabonis.
yeah.
Because they still, I remember we had this conversation when we was going through our early season predictions of
hmm
like who was going to fall in line, and when we talk about the Eastern Conference, in particular the Indiana
Remember,
Pacers,
I said I don't
yeah,
know if the Pacers
we
were gonna
I
last
said
because
no.
Miles
I
Turner.
said
we couldn't
I
figure
said that
out who the
they should start tanking. They should
right
start rebuild.
we couldn't figure out who the clear cut guy is, because we were
Right, and
saying
you still
that
got TJ Warren in the
exactly.
background. Yeah,
Right. So Sabonis made an all-star team last year, but then when TJ Warren comes back and he had a great bubble, Karis LeVert, who's supposed to be on the up and up, and
yeah.
Brogdon, who was a rookie of the year, it's
Mhm.
like it's so many like this is
And he's
my team, this is
and
my team, you know what I
mhm.
mean?
But
So
sorry.
no,
Oh,
go
but
ahead.
also Brogdon he signed an extension, so he's not eligible to be traded until the following year.
Mhm. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you also add Miles Turner to that equation too. Like you said, he feels like
Hmm.
he's a glorified role player. And it's just like you have a lot of unhappy players on his team. So what are you going to do about it,
Don't forget, remember they had that whole issue this year with the assistant head coach, the head
Mhm.
coach, and
That was last year.
I mean, yeah, last year. Sorry,
Mhm.
and that was just a whole mess. So it's yeah, Indiana and Portland are probably the two most, and Philly. You could still throw Philly because Ben Simmons is still looming
Hmm.
over them. Um, those three franchises right now need to do something
Yeah.
and fast.
Yeah, all three of those
Um,
are on the clock.
yeah,
Mhm.
And also next December 15th is Wednesday. So
yeah.
that's the first day
Mhm.
where teams can
You
trade
can
players who sign contracts in the off
you
season.
can yeah you can definitely expect some trades down the line, especially teams that are struggling, that's supposed to be better than what they are, right?
Mhm.
The Knicks are going to be in that conversation.
Oh yeah,
They have to make moves.
yeah.
There is no, and that and we could just segue into this. The Knicks' decline as of late has been surprising. Did not see this coming. I did say that this was going to be a challenge with the roster that they constructed. I did say that, you know, defense was going to be an issue, and here
Mhm.
we are with this team. Kimba's now not in the rotation. You know, Evan Fournier and Julius Randle are bickering back and forth. Obi Toppin. I mean, I listen. It was nice, but you guys were losing. Doing a between
Oh,
the dunk
It was a
between the
5 point
last dunk.
game. It was a
But
5 point
I
game. Next
mean,
thing you know, it's
damn,
down 30.
exactly like that. You
Okay,
know what I mean?
so
I don't
all
know.
right,
We'll give you the
go
floor.
ahead, Eric. Go
We'll give you
ahead.
the floor. But yeah,
Facts.
okay, so all right, so a couple weeks ago, Kimmel Walker, it was announced that he's out of the rotation. So the numbers is like, okay, let's see how this goes. Since then, I can give you a clue. Last night's game, they're 1-4. Evan Fournier,
wait, say that again.
they're 1-4 since he got out of rotation. Since he since he got
Yes.
benched.
Hmm.
So the issue is defense. Last year, the defensive rating was third. They were third in defensive rating and first in points allowed.
You
This
guys need
year,
to
they're
repeat what he said.
21st in defense. They're 17th in defensive rating, 24th in points allowed. No, actually, I'm getting the numbers mixed up. But they're 24th in defense. That right there is this explains why they're 12 and 13. Um, do I think they need to make changes? Yes. They need a 3 and D wing. Evan Fournier, I need him to be on the bench, get quickly in the lineup, and also bring up Quentin Grimes into the rotation and Miles Bryant in the rotation because those two, even though they're rookies, they can play defense. They can provide that energy. They can provide that speed. What they also need to do is speed the tempo because Julius Randle, I get that he's yes, he was the second team All NBA and last year was an All Star.
Most improved.
Most and also most improved. It seems like he's been struggling.
But
He's been
you
struggling
can't.
mightily,
So
but
here's the thing, real quick,
also
Eric. You can't run pace if Tom Thibodeau is consistently having Julius Randle be the point forward. You're not LeBron. Like you.
that's my issue. That's what I was getting to. That's what I'm getting to. That's what I'm getting to. So what he should and I know Tibbs he's been stubborn. That's his calling card. He's known for defense. He's known for pace,
Yeah, we know we
space.
got a
You
coach
know
like
that.
that.
Frank Vogel, they gotta mix it up. Like the fact that Julius Randle's a point forward, I thought we was done by that since last year. Apparently we're not.
They're
Um
going left. They're going
going left.
left.
But he's been going right most of the time, but they don't see that. Um but my issue, Evan Fournier, oh I know last night in the press conference he said he had some bad stick in San Antonio. We don't want to hear that. Your defense has been non-existent. You had a couple good games, but you haven't shown up most of the games this year. Um,
Yeah,
I
he has a
just
lot of games where he's
I
scoring
mean,
yeah,
20.
but I mean, you
and
guys
plus,
knew
and
what you
plus
was getting yourself into with that, though.
but at the same time that
Yeah, and that was my point in the beginning of the year. I was like, you do realize that teams are now they get up for the Knicks. The Knicks are actually good,
Right.
and you gave away. You moved away a lot from your defensive identity players to more offensive minded players, but you have a defensive
yeah
minded coach. And the philosophy doesn't mix. Like the only reason, honestly, and I can tell you this, and I'll let you go, Eric. The reason why the Lakers still have this chance, right? And there's some silver lining. It may work because we have LeBron James, right? LeBron James dictates the whole game, both
Hmm.
ends of the floor.
Hmm.
So it doesn't matter. Yeah, we may have Frank Vogel who has his issues, but he's also a defensive minded coach. But LeBron has the keys to the offense. Who has the keys to the offense with the Knicks? That
it's
should have
no
been
one.
Kimba.
So And
or
right now it's no one.
right,
No one.
exactly, and that's the issue because you're not good on defense. So what's supposed to make up for that was your offense. Just out like
Mhm.
it's almost a philosophy that the Brooklyn Nets had like last year, right? Everyone
Outscore everybody.
talked about
Outscoring
how
everyone.
bad their defense was going to be, and rightfully so. They were on pace to be the worst defensive team ever.
But
All they had to
they can
do was
outscore
say,
everybody. Yeah.
right. All they had to do was say, you know what? Forget about the defense. We're gonna just go all in on offense, and because that's what we're good at, that's what we're great at. That's what this roster is built on. And they built and they played to their strengths, and they were. And once they realized that, they took off. They
Hmm.
took off, and then in turn, that offense turned into comparable defense. They wound up being a middle of the pack defensive team, and that's good if your offense is number one or number two, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
The Knicks is just what direction you guys want to
Yeah,
go in.
there's
It's like no one knows because Tibbs
it's
is saying one thing, but the skill set requires another.
Hmm.
yeah. They so my thing is that they're still trying to search for their identity. What they need to do is find that identity, which is defense on the Tibbs, and then go from there. It's like if we have to give up on offense, then fine. I but I think they need to go back to their identity, which is defense, and bring up some young players off from the bench and get them into regular rotation minutes because you're gonna have you they're going you have to go back they have to go back to that identity, and also they're gonna have to start speeding up the tempo, which means cut down Julius Randle's minutes and give Obi Toppin more minutes. And also I'll have to like bench Evan Fournier and put quickly into the starting lineup.
Now
The thing
that
is, you
I
have
have
to
a
justify the money you gave this guy in the offseason.
yeah,
You can't just bench him and be
yeah.
like,
No,
sorry,
no,
like
not
that money
not.
has to work somehow.
I'm
Like
not
you
talking
got to
about.
get value for that.
I'm not talking about benching and like taking him out the rotation. Like I'm
Now
talking like
I get what you're
get
saying.
get.
Oh, like so
Yeah, yeah.
he runs
He's
with the
not.
bench unit.
Yes, he's on with the
But
bench
Okay.
unit, but
I mean,
not getting started minutes.
so Eric, you know more than me because this is your team. You know, I personally, I from what I've seen, I like quickly off the bench. Like he's a spark plug. You know what I mean?
That's the
Like
thing, though. That's the issue with
right,
him and Derrick
that
Rose.
right. You know, I
So
just and I feel like if he's in the starting lineup, like you guys are already down defensively. You know,
yeah,
teams are just gonna pick at that, especially him being so inexperienced. You know, a lot of teams
Yeah, like
gonna have
you
their weight with them. You know,
you don't want quickly starting on Steph Curry or
right,
like
or
that's a recipe for disaster. You
right.
want him with the bench unit. You kind of I think quickly provides a spark off the bench that you guys need.
Mhm.
Now, I just think what you guys need to do is
And
put some pieces together.
we don't even gotta I'm gonna let you go, but we don't even gotta go that far to the Warriors. We can talk about like the Miami Heat, somebody that's in their
Yeah,
conference. You know,
yeah,
like
true, true, true.
you don't want quickly on a Lowry. You don't want. I mean,
Yeah,
I feel like out of everybody
mhm.
on that team, you'll feel better with him on Lowry, but with him on like a Jimmy Butler or like
yeah.
whenever VO comes back, like you don't want that.
Or even if Kyrie comes back, you don't want quickly on
Right,
Kyrie.
exactly, yeah,
You know,
and or
so
not on Harden. You know what I mean? So
right
like,
on Harden, who's actually playing point guard
playing
this year. So
exactly, yeah.
I look. I think the Knicks may have to listen. You're gonna have to figure out: do you want a 3-and-D wing? Do you want to? I think personally, you need a point guard. You need a point guard
Yeah,
who can run your offense
Mm.
and control the tempo. It may cost you Fournier or it may cost you Alec Burke, but I,
hey,
you gotta give it up to get it because
And Alec Burke
you
is
guys
not
are
your
in,
point guard.
yeah
For real.
you guys are in trouble, man. Like you're not trending the right way, and games that you're supposed to win, like you're supposed to beat Indiana. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
you're expected to beat Indiana. To be down 30, yikes! And don't get me wrong, I can't speak too much because we know we know what we've been through this year so
Right.
far, right? And then I'm not absolved from any of that criticism, but the Lakers are trending in a way where I think it's going in the right direction. The Knicks are it's totally opposite, and it's concerning. It's just concerning.
yeah. It's 25 games in, not panicking, but there's a lot of concern going on. You know, um, hopefully they start they start riding the ship a little bit. Hopefully they get they get their stuff together effort wise, because there's some games that they sometimes they don't show up, and this is not the way that Tom Thibodeau team
Hmm.
shows up playing basketball effort wise. That's
Also,
the thing.
also too, man, are they tired?
Yeah, it's like
Like,
they had remember they had San Antonio. They had to go down to San Antonio, and then back to back last night at Indiana. So that
yeah,
could be it. But then again, it's like there should be no reason for this team to play that type of basketball. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where's the effort? Where's the energy? Where's the foundation that there was last year? You know what I'm saying? With the even though with even with those two new players, you still got the same roster that you had last year. So there should be no excuse for them not to play with the same energy, the same effort, the same intensity that they did last year. But then again, you got teams
but you
that
got you,
but
but you got.
but then again, there are teams in the East that got much better.
Yeah, that's what
So
I was saying. Like, it's not. Yeah, you can say the intensity and stuff, but if you look at the roster makeup is not conducive to what you're asking them to do. That's not what they. It's not what they're geared to do. Like, I'm sorry, like Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker are not going to be lockdown defenders. That this is it's not. They're going to get picked on defense, and they're hot and cold on offense, and that's a lot of your issues. Is that you have players who are not great at one thing. Like when it's crunch time, when it's money time, like, do you have that one guy that can control the ball, control the defense, control the offense, and say, let's get us home? I don't. Julius Randle's too erratic for it, you know.
and we've been screaming about why is he the point forward? Why is he bringing up the ball too much? So
Yeah. So there
yeah,
goes the
so
Knicks.
they're the Knicks. We can move on from them. Hopefully they'll right there. They can get their stuff together under
We'll see.
Tibbs, and we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. As you know, man, there's been COVID is still rampant around the league. And wow. Chicago was reported today. Hold on, I got the report right here from Woj. Was it from Woj or from Shams? It was
It was
from
I think
Woj.
for
So
Woj.
Woj.
the Bulls are facing an outbreak um on with the team with COVID outbreak with Derrick Jones Jr., DeMar DeRozan, Kobe White, Matt Thomas, and Javante Green all have entered health and safety protocols. So it's sheesh. It's a lot, you know what I'm saying? And then the Pacers and Raptors had to cancel their practice because the Pacers are supposedly now Rick Carlisle has entered safety health and safety protocols along with Lloyd Pierce, and we may hear more players um,
It's that
that may be affected by, and as well as the Knicks too, and
yeah.
because they just played Indiana, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll wait and see with that, and then you also have uh, the Hornets, and that you had Lamelo Ball, you also have um, Jalen McDaniels, Mason Plumlee, Terry Rozier, Ish Smith are all out because they're in health and safety protocol. So, you know, it's still running rampant, man. It's crazy because
It's that
it's
Omicron, whatever that
right.
name
It's
is.
it's
Yeah.
it's going to
Mm-hmm.
cost teams a lot of losses because the
Omarion.
NBA is not going to cancel games this year. So,
Yeah.
um, it's going to suck for a lot of teams who are fighting for position in the playoffs. As we get into half of the year coming up soon. So,
And
yeah, man.
not just the teams, like I think also the fans as well too,
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
especially like for us, like Ernest, like let's just say, and Eric, you as well too. We all a fan of the sport at the end of the day, and I'm pretty sure we all wanted to see LeBron James at the Garden, but he couldn't because of suspension. So like, even though that has nothing to do with the whole safety protocol thing, but these type of things are gonna happen where like somebody's gonna fall under those.
Well, look, yeah, if
Yeah,
LeBron in Sacramento, right? Like,
yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So it sucks, man. But I'm hoping this is not something that starts to continue to run rampant, right? And we have a situation
Mm-hmm.
where it starts to get out of hand. So,
And then we have to like stop the season for a little bit just to ease the cases and all that stuff.
yeah,
And you don't want to do that.
yeah. So hoping for the best. Really hoping for the
Mhm.
best. Really hoping
Yeah.
for the best.
Hoping everybody's safe, mask up. You know, they talking about booster shots and stuff like that. Also, if you, I seen something, a report, I can't remember who reported it the other day, but they were saying that if you leave the states to go back to your country, and you know you wouldn't be allowed back or something like that. It's a lot, and it's starting to ramp up again. This thing hasn't officially died yet, so
I
you
think that's in
know.
Toronto. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
in
it's in
Toronto.
Toronto. It's in
Yeah.
Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and in other news, the Nets, right? James Harden's been struggling as
Hmm.
of late. Leads the league in
It's
turnovers.
been
It
an
used to be,
ongoing thing, man.
yeah, it used to be Russ. Now it's James
Hmm.
Harden leading the league in turnovers.
I have a quick
Um,
question for y'all.
What's up,
Good question. Do you see him starting to lose his step?
James?
Yeah.
So it was reported that he never officially recovered back from the hamstring, you know, and also in this case is like you're asking him to do two jobs, but he was doing two jobs when he was in Houston, you know. So it's been games where it's like, and Steve Nash also been on record for like, you know, just talking about his play of recent late, just how James Harden approaches the game. Is he coming into this game as a scorer, or is he coming into this game as a facilitator? KD's going to do one thing. Now we all spoke about this, how KD can, you know, facilitate and pass the ball, but that's not his
mhm.
job.
Hmm.
James Harden has been this guy since he, you know, I would say a little bit of the Thunder, but like he started to show who he really was when he became a Houston Rocket. So, you know, with the Kyrie being missing, you know, it it you're asking James Harden to work with what he has and also put the ball in the basket as well too. So, and also the injury thing, we're not sure if he fully recovered back from that. You know, like I said, it was reported that that was the case and everything, but that's where I'm at with that about James.
I'm gonna have a hot take. So I don't want to hear that about James Harden, about him not recovering and all that crap. Because here's the thing: you had a whole off season to do that. You were out before your team got eliminated from the playoffs, so you had time, right, to do your whatever activities you wanted to do and whatever, hang out with little baby, do whatever. You still had the rest of the offseason to get right, plus the preseason, plus the big, like, the very very beginning of the year. Personally, I don't think James Harden lost a step. I think James Harden doesn't want to be in Brooklyn anymore.
He didn't sign that extension.
I think honestly, I believe he's looking at the Philly situation. I think he going back with Daryl Morey intrigues him.
Mm,
You
Hmm.
know, he can play his traditional style of
mm,
basketball in Philly because it'll just be a one-two punch with him and Embiid. Embiid wouldn't intrude on the space that he needs because Embiid can space the floor.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Kevin Durant, people always bring, oh, they played together, they were so great together in OKC. They were puppies, man. Like they were still trying to figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
And now
And they
that
did
James
well.
Harden's
It's
gotten,
high
yeah,
expectations.
right, and now that James Harden has gotten that taste of, oh, I was a man in Houston. Not saying that he that's what he wants in Brooklyn, but I think he's finding it difficult to be the scorer and facilitator at the same time, given the fact that Kevin Durant needs the ball. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that Kevin Durant impudes on the game of James Harden, because you could fit Kevin Durant in any system, and the system's going to work. Like, he'll fit in any system. But I just think James Harden is of the mindset of, like, all right, if I'm going to score, like, if KD's a scorer, then that's what he does. I need to make sure I get him the ball in the spots where he can do that. But then,
Mm-hmm.
like, my game is predicated on one-on-one basketball, not moving the ball.
Right.
Hmm.
And
And
so it's a tough scenario. I think personally, and given the whole Kyrie situation and how the season is, like, kind of turning around, and listen, they're still the number one seed in the East with all this
mhm.
stuff going on,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
But I just think he's eyeing Philly. I
Hmm.
think he's eyeing
Hmm.
Philly, and I think for him it's like, yeah, I want to win a ring, but if I could be the focal point of the offense, and winning ring, and play my style of basketball, why not? So I don't know. I feel like he's more so like, he's not totally bought in.
Mm.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
but yeah,
Interesting take
Mhm.
because like I get the Daryl Morey, James Harden equation of that, and on top of that, got Embiid and Simmons. They fallen out of favors with each other,
hmm
and now this fact that this James Harden has signed an extension earlier this season before the
and
season
honestly,
started.
Simmons works perfectly with Kyrie and KD. He
Yep.
works perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that will be more of a dangerous three than James Harden,
James
Kyrie,
Harden,
and KD. To me,
because
that's
Ben
just
Simmons
me.
doesn't need the ball.
No, and
He
and
doesn't need
he
the ball.
he's a 6'10" point guard who can defend. Oh my God! Like, what? You're
Mm-hmm.
automatically adding length, and you're adding defense that now your two stars don't have to focus on.
Mhm.
It's every facet of the game is covered for them. So we'll see. We'll see. Next topic, and I would say final topic of the evening. What is going on with Anthony Davis?
So okay, hmm. So I read something on Twitter saying that because he bulked up, added some weight to prevent injuries, his fluidity is not the same.
He's not as bouncy
Um,
for sure.
right, um, and it's crazy to me that AD majority of his points is in the paint. I think he's
Yeah,
number
he's
one.
shooting.
Mm-hmm.
He's
He's
number
number one.
one.
He
Yeah,
leads the league. He leads the league right now in paint points. He
right.
averages over 54% from the field in the paint,
In the
but
paint,
outside the paint, he's averaging under
right.
20%.
I,
Like, it's crazy.
I
Wow.
legit I legit scream no at the TV when he's either shooting a mid range or a 3-pointer. The only guy I should be screaming at the TV when he's shooting, period, is Russ. That's it. But I don't know, man. I mean, that game against Boston, he hit Al Horford with a nice, but it's Al Horford, But
Yeah,
he hit it
Yeah.
with a nice spin move, a nice up and under and stuff like that. But it's like, where's the AD of the first season that we had him, or his Pelican days? It's just like, oh, okay, like teams don't fear AD. Like, pretty much
no,
what Chuck
Nope.
was saying the other night. Like, teams don't fear AD. Robert Williams dunked on AD 3 times the other night,
three
bro.
times, bro.
That
I
was
just didn't.
embarrassing,
I didn't
man.
understand it.
That was embarrassing.
I did
Three,
not understand it.
like he is something, and I said this when I think it was a couple episodes after the whole 75th list or anything. It's like, bro, you have to play with this chip on your soldier, like on your shoulder, excuse me. Like, people were saying that you don't deserve to be a top 75. You have another player on your team who missed it and has 4 defensive player of the years. Like, make it
Right.
make sense. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's just that aggression doesn't come out, like, don't get me wrong, somebody comes in the paint, he blocks shots and stuff like that. But it's like, where is the what is it called? Geez. But where's the aggression? You know what I mean? Like, where's the
The
drop step?
intensity.
Where's the
And
intensity? Where's the I'm gonna dunk on you? I'm gonna give you 30 tonight. Like, where is that?
yeah, and I don't understand. Like, he settles a lot. Like, AD, I always say this. AD thinks he's KD sometimes, and it bothers me. And his averages are not bad. It's true. Like, he averages right now 24 points, 10 rebounds on 52% shooting, 3 assists. He's averaging 2 blocks a game and a steal. Like, that's still good numbers, but it's not. You don't feel his presence in the game at all, and it's just I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if he's trying to get acclimated to the Russ thing, and I don't know, but like, I thought what Russ was going to do for him was like, oh, because Russ is on go mode all night long.
Mm.
I thought he would be able to instill some of that into AD, which would have which would bring AD to that. Like, I would never compare AD to Giannis anymore. I can't do
Yeah,
it. Like,
I
I
can.
would we
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
had an argument maybe
it.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
AD is way better than Giannis, skill
yeah.
set, everything. He can do what Giannis can do and better. No, it's because it's but one simple thing
Yeah.
that we always forgot was the mindset.
Yeah. And
Giannis is like, I don't care what I'm going to score 50 tonight. I
yeah.
don't care what I got to do.
Yeah. And I think after Giannis won that championship, a lot of people was deading the debate, but I think after the whole Bucks and Lakers matchup that happened a couple weeks ago, that was a nail in the coffin, like
Yeah.
official. Like Giannis was going at, and it was on national television, so everybody and
Yeah.
their mama could see it. But
Yeah.
Giannis was legit going at AD. AD was jab step,
Yeah.
jab
Jab
step,
step.
jab
Shot.
step.
Like, what are you doing?
Giannis
Like,
is
go
going
him.
at him, and I don't get it. I don't know. I don't want to say it's injury related. Nah, man. Like, bro, like you have a skill set of a guard.
Right.
What is going on, bro? Like
in a 7 foot
in
body.
a 7 foot body, like if we could have, it's really hard for me to compare Bubble AD and Pelicans AD. Even if we had Bubble AD, I would appreciate that so much more than the Anthony Davis we're getting right now, man. So much more.
Yeah, I don't know,
Because
man.
teams don't fear us. You
Yeah.
would think that when LeBron's not playing, right? All right, we good. We got AD and Russ. No, like we struggling to beat the Sacramento Queens. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. Like the thing is that you as the second guy on the team and supposed to be on LeBron words, the number one guy on the team, you're supposed to be holding down the fort. Like LeBron's getting up there in age. If LeBron wants to retire today, the keys to the city is yours. The keys to the team is yours, and you're not proving that, bro.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
it's like both of our teams is giving us cardiac arrest.
And I said this the other day. You guys can vouch for me. I was like, against the game against the Celtics, I was like, I don't know if this is Anthony Davis or 08 Pau Gasol.
Yo, seriously.
so AD, if you watch it, if anybody knows AD is watching, I don't. You know what? I'm not going to even apologize for that. It's kind of disrespectful, but I hope this lights a fire up under you. You know what I mean? Like,
I hope so, man.
Yeah,
This is, bro. Even against the Knicks, Julius Randle, his first play, I think it was.
he was
comes
going
down,
at AD,
and he
man.
goes right at his chest. I'm
Right
like,
at AD.
And then against the Celtics, right? AD's in the post, and he gets. Alpha just rips the ball from him. I was like, what is? And then don't forget the dunk. The dunk he tries to dunk on Langford. I think it was right. It was Romeo Langford. And Langford, who is probably 5 inches shorter than him, blocks his shot at the rim. I'm like, what is going on?
Held that down. Yeah, bro. I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know. But as we wrap up, man, we'll hopefully we'll get better AD. But before we log off, I'm predicting the Lakers starting the other night, continuing tonight, will win, and we'll go on a 6-game winning streak starting this upcoming stretch. That's my prediction, and I'm leaving it at that, and I'm out.
Yeah. I'll say 7. Even though we got the good win against the Celtics the other night, I'm still not satisfied. Because
I'm not. I know.
We've been up and down. We like, all right, this is it. This is the moment. This is when the league's going to get back on track. And then the next game we have a bad loss. So it's like I'm just watching back. Like trying to keep my feelings aside, but it's just so hard, man. And then also with, this whole, like we had a bad loss against the Clippers the other night, and it was saying that was the last time the Clippers will play on the Staples Center floor or / building. So that's also another change we got to get used to, the crypto.com arena, whatever it is, man. Like, yeah.
Look, I got a good question before we sign off. Since you got the Warriors and the Suns just running away with the Western Conference already, and with Utah starting to establish themselves as the third best team in the West, where do you think the Lakers finish?
Fourth.
We win tonight. We win tonight. We're tied for 4th seed. So
yeah. That's the highest we can go. That's the highest we can go, man.
We're gonna be a 4-3 seed. Yeah, I'm not worried about this either.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Like even the West hasn't been dominant West as of late because the Eastern Conference is also balanced out as well too. So
yeah, the West isn't as strong as it used to be. So
yeah. Everybody in the league got better. Mm-hmm.
Will the Knicks be out of will the Knicks avoid the play-in? How about that? Because right
Actually,
now,
no, the season ended today. They won't make the play-in.
yeah, I know.
They're in 11th. I believe they'll get in the play-in. Unfortunately,
Damn.
the top 6 is not out of the question. I still believe in this group. I still believe in Tibbs, but they got to get that stuff together ASAP. Okay. Do I believe they're gonna make a move it here and there during the trade deadline season? I believe so. Because I believe that with Leon Rose and the crew in the front office, even though they haven't said nothing, even though they haven't said anything, they see the product and they're not satisfied with what's going on. So I think they're gonna make a couple of tweaks here and there with the roster. But I believe they still will make the finish of the top 6.
All right.
But it's going to be a dogfight. We all knew this coming into the season that these would be much better. Look at the Cavaliers. Look at the Cavaliers. The Celtics are still there. The Hawks are still there. The Bulls, the Nets, even though they're top in the East. The Bucks, they got this stuff together and they're back in the top of the East. So it's going to be a dogfight for those from like 5 to 11. So we'll see.
And before we log off real quick, I just want to give credit to where credit is due. The Houston Rockets on a 7-game win streak. Just got to throw that out there, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, things are happening.
Without Jalen Green. So
yeah.
Yep. Until next time, guys.
Yeah.
Until next time, we will cover more NBA news, more college, and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And always follow, like, and subscribe to the Swoosh Hoops podcast.
And please hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
Peace.
Right? See y'all next time. See you next week.